Hi, Andy York, SIG Electro-Optics. I'm going to take you through the next step here of how to configure the settings for a Kilo BDX rangefinder. There's multiple models in this line, starting with the Kilo 1400 BDX, 1800 BDX, 2200 BDX, 2400 BDX, and on the high end, a Kilo 3000 BDX rangefinding binocular. The setup procedure for all of them will be very similar to what I'm about to show. So traditionally, as a backup, you have a menu mode button on every rangefinder. If you're out and about, you don't have access to your phone, you can still program the basic parameters and settings through that. It's much easier to do it with the BDX app. This is the rangefinder home screen. I'm going to show you the settings thing that I was just talking about before I explain the screen. Once again, I want to repeat, in the upper right hand corner, a question mark will give you all of the helpful hints about what you're doing on this page and give you some hints on how to set it up. It's there for you to read, and I'll hit OK. And I'm going to go to the settings wheel at the top right corner. And here you're going to see all the things that you configure with the BDX app, and it's directly setting that programming in your paired rangefinder. The first one is rangefinder mode. If you touch the field to the right, it'll toggle between line of sight, applied ballistics ultralight, and angle modified range. For the BDX system to work and to solve your ballistic equation, to give you the holdover dot in the rifle scope, it has to be in ABU mode. So that's something you want to check. Target mode is best or last. Best will give you the strongest return signal from what the rangefinder is seeing. Last will give you the most distant signal from what the rangefinder is seeing. I leave it in best typically. Brightness, you can put it manually into 3 levels of high 1, 2, 3, medium 1, 2, 3, low 1, 2, 3. I typically leave it in auto mode. Auto mode is an ambient light sensor in these rangefinders. It'll read the ambient light, and it will be bright when it's very bright out, and it will auto dim when it's getting dark. The reticle mode, circle and horizontal, full grid on some of these rangefinders, and then I'll put it in circle mode, which is just the simple circle targeting device. Range units you can set into meters or yards. Sleep timer, I usually crank that up to 120 or 180 seconds. That's the auto timeout on the rangefinder. If it hasn't actively been ranging for 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 2 minutes, or 3 minutes, depending on the setting here, it'll automatically time out. And then sight units, MOA or mils, I typically leave it in MOA for what we're doing here today. So that is how you set that part up for the settings on the rangefinder. Now on the rangefinder main screen, it also serves as a heads-up display. So whatever I range, and I'm in a small room here, so I just ranged 7.6 yards. It's also over here going to tell you it was a 5-degree angle. It's going to show you your elevation adjustment in MOA and your windage adjustment in MOA. You're also going to see the velocity on target, and you're going to see the energy, the kinetic energy on target. So you have a lot of information there. You can set the wind speed and direction just by touching the dial. You can set up that, and you can turn the wind speed up to whatever it's blowing that day. For hunting, I normally set this at 10 miles an hour, full value crosswind, and then you know to hold into the wind. It'll give you wind holds on both sides of the horizontal stadia wire on the reticle, and you know to hold into the wind. You know if it's half that speed, to hold half the value. If the wind is blowing twice that speed, hold double. You can touch on the temperature icon. It'll pull from the local weather station for temperature and altitude. If you're out and about hunting and you don't have cell signal, you can just touch on that field and you can overwrite it and say, I'm really at 500 feet of elevation, and now you've got 500. So you'll be able to manually enter it, or it'll pull automatically. And so that's your basic functionality. I'm going to take you through another section in a minute on this page around muzzle velocity. That'll be its own video. Please look for the muzzle velocity calibration video.